Hello, I'm April Davila for Sit Right Here, and this is First Page Fridays, where we read somebody's submitted first page. It's usually a novel or a short story, sometimes a memoir, and I will go through the process of editing it. I'll share my thoughts as I suggest my edits. Always suggestions. Ultimately, it is the writer's story, of course. I'm just making my edits as I would with any client that I work with. If this is not your page and you'd like to send one in, you can check out the link below, send in your first page, and we will put it in the queue. And before we jump in, I will just remind you to like and subscribe so that you can continue to learn and grow as a writer along with the rest of us. So I'm going to shrink myself down. The way we usually do this is I start at the top, read it through, and then we'll come back up to the top and start editing. I have not read this yet, so please be patient with me if I mispronounce or get something wrong. It happens. And let's begin. The Vanished Room. Peregrine eased the door shut behind him as he slipped into the crowded room. He spotted an empty chair at the end of a row and slid into it. He pulled his peaked cap lower until all of his unruly brown hair was hidden and glanced furtively over his shoulder. He had not seen anyone he knew, and his disguise seemed to be fooling anyone who might recognize him. He adjusted the dark sunglasses that he was wearing to hide his bright blue eyes, conscious of the fact that they looked a little out of place with the sun completely obscured by clouds outside. He glanced down and surreptitiously slipped his pocket watch out of his vest pocket, popping the case open with his finger. The teapot should be up shortly, assuming that he had calculated the correct rate the auctioneer was hammering down the lots. The East Midlands accent rang out into the room. Lot 237, mid-century cylindrical stoneware teapot, unglazed and reddish-brown in color. 100 pounds to start, please. The auctioneer paused, waiting for a response from the room before continuing. No bidder? 50 pounds then. A couple of cards with numbers printed on them popped into the air, and the price for the teapot climbed slowly up to 90 pounds as the number of bidders dwindled. At 90 pounds, no one will give me 100. All done at 90 pounds then, selling at 90 pounds. Peregrine slowly raised his paddle and nodded at the auctioneer. All right. The thing I like right off the bat on this is that it drops us right in scene. There is something happening. We are with our main character, Peregrine. I mean, right off the bat, we know who we're with. I will say sometimes our system messes up the formatting a little bit. So this was we'll get to this, but like this is probably on our end in terms of formatting. So let's start at the top. Peregrine eased the door shut behind him as he slipped into the crowded room. Okay. He spotted an empty chair at the end of a row and slid into it. He pulled his peaked cap lower until all of his unruly brown hair was hidden and glanced furtively over his shoulder. Okay, so we're seeing this man. He pulls his peaked cap. And I think I'm not like super up on my cap descriptions, but I think that's kind of like the British hat that's kind of like almost like a mushroom with a brim. So that in my understanding that kind of sets this. Well, I'll just share. So in my brain, this puts this probably in England, in like the early 1900s, like probably 20s or 30s. I'm guessing. That might not be right, but that's just me making an assumption based on the hat. So he pulls lower until all of his unruly brown hair is hidden, and he glanced furtively over his shoulder. He had not seen anyone he knew, and his disguise seemed to be fooling anyone who might recognize him. I like that. I like this is working. It's he had not seen anyone he knew, and his disguise seemed to be fooling anyone who might recognize him. I wonder if you could say, and no one seemed to recognize him. I don't want to edit this too hard. I feel like it's working. He adjusted the dark sunglasses that he was wearing to hide his bright blue eyes. So again, we're kind of like in the story zooming in on this guy, right? We get the hat, we get the curly brown hair. He's kind of slumped into the chair, trying not to be seen. Dark glasses hiding bright blue eyes. So now we start to get a sense, okay, he's probably pale skinned, conscious of the fact that they looked out of place. Okay, so the they here is referring to the blue eyes. And I think what you meant it to be was the dark sunglasses that he was wearing to hide his bright blue eyes, conscious of the fact that I would say like the shades. Yeah, you have to bring us back to the sunglasses and the dark lenses. Amira said that maybe tinted lenses, so we're not saying the same thing. Tinted lenses looked a little out of place with the sun completely obscured by clouds outside. Now, this kind of raises the question, we're kind of like, we're indoors, right? We're in this crowded room, but then we're talking about the outside. So there's a little bit of like where are we? Conscious, I might say that conscious of the fact that the tinted lenses were an odd adornment indoors, something like that. I'm trying to match your voice, but you would definitely want to put that in your own language. And again, just to put out there, these are always suggestions. They're just my take on things. You are the author. It's your story. You decide. So the dark sunglasses that he was wearing to hide his bright blue eyes, conscious of the fact that the tinted lenses were an odd adornment indoors. Yeah, I don't know. You decide on that. He glanced down and surreptitiously slipped his pocket watch out of his vest pocket. So again, pocket watch, nice hint that not modern day, but also not like too long ago, popping the case open with his finger. Now, I don't know if you need with his finger. It raises questions that you don't know that you need to open it. And I would just say he slipped his pocket watch out of his vest pocket and checked the time. The teapot should be up shortly. And I love this because it's kind of, I had a moment of like, teapot, what? But then you very quickly get us into what the teapot is. So I think that's working. The teapot should be up shortly, assuming that he had calculated the correct rate the auctioneer was hammering down the lots. The East Midlands accent rang out into the room. East Midlands. This is probably just me showing my ignorance, but I don't know. Is that an English thing? It sounds kind of British. And I guess you're referring to the accent of the auctioneer. So this would probably be, I wonder if for those of us who are ignorant of accents, if you could say the auctioneers, East Midlands accent. Oh, yeah, not right. The auctioneer's East Midlands accent rang out into the room. And then, of course, we would pull this back up. Lot 237, mid-century cylindrical stoneware teapot, unglazed and reddish-brown in color. 100 pounds to start, please. The auctioneer paused, waiting for a response from the room before continuing. No bidder? 50 pounds then. A couple of cards. So this is, the thing I really like about this is that this is not like it doesn't feel like you're setting up like an art heist, right? This is not some $8 billion piece of art that is priceless and irreplaceable. It's a teapot. And nobody seems excited to even do 100 pounds on it. And yet it is being auctioned. And so this is exactly the kind of question we like to pose on the first page of like, what's with the teapot? Yeah, it's stoneware, it's unglazed, it doesn't sound very fancy, and yet this guy is clearly like snuck in for some reason. He's not supposed to be there. There's presumably some danger at being caught for this unassuming teapot. This is exactly the kind of intrigue that dropping us into scene on the first page can create. 50 pounds then. A couple of cards with numbers printed on them popped into the air, and the price for the teapot climbed slowly up to 90 pounds as the number of bidders dwindled. Our system probably took out the carriage returns, so you may have had this formatted slightly differently. At 90 pounds, no one will give. I don't know if I would. So the word "at" made me kind of think that we were in Peregrine's head. And I think that's why I read it kind of funny. Like at 90 pounds, I almost thought it was him thinking about it. Whereas if you just say 90 pounds, no one will give me 100. All done at 90 pounds, then selling at 90 pounds. And I feel like this feels very final. So you might say before the auctioneer could hit his gavel or whatever it is that makes it official, Peregrine slowly raised. And if he's moving slowly, it seems like he might miss it. So let's say before the auctioneer could bang his gavel, and I don't know if gavel's the right word. Peregrine slowly, and I would just say raised his paddle. It doesn't seem like there's time. If he says selling at 90 pounds and he goes to like bang the gavel to make it official and he's really slow in raising the paddle, it just seems like it wouldn't happen in time. Maybe that's part of it. I mean, of course, we don't know where this is going. Maybe the auctioneer and him are kind of in cahoots. Again, I'm making suggestions based what I have in front of me, so you'll have to make the choice on how best to do that. But this is my thought here. So things I think are working really well in this. I love that we get introduced into our main character right away. We're right into scene. We get a sense of the era. I'm getting a feeling that we're in like the UK somewhere. Again, even with my ignorance around East Midlands. And I guess that wouldn't necessarily mean they were, I don't know. Okay, we get the checking of the pocket watch, which is very much of an era. We get the sense of what he looks like. I think if there was anything that you might bump up or like punch up a little bit in the scene, it would be, why is he hiding, right? Is it just that he's a rake and a scoundrel and he's not welcome here? Or is there like real danger if he were to be spotted? You might be able to get in a little bit of that, which would, punch up that curiosity factor. The teapot should be up shortly, assuming that he had calculated the correct rate. The auctioneer was hammering down the lots. The auctioneer's Midland accents rang out in the room. Yeah, so when they do these auctions, they do like bring out the thing, right? I wonder if you could also just, and I wouldn't belabor it because I think this is a really solid first page, but maybe there's a moment where whoever it is running the auction like brings the teapot out, and you could even have our main character Peregrine reflect on, it was such a simple thing. Who would have thought that it was the key to his future or what? I mean, again, you might be able to do a little bit more hinting at why these things are important, why they matter. But even if you don't, I think this is an intriguing first page. I would definitely turn the page to read what happens next. I'm very curious to know why this teapot is important, and I like the details that you've included. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, maybe another detail or two about the room. Yeah, but in general, I think this is really solid. So thank you to the writer who was brave enough to submit their page. This doesn't work without you. And if it was not your page and you'd like to submit yours, please check out the link below, send in your page, and we will add it to the queue we'll get to as soon as we can. Take care, everybody.